So you might ask yourself the question, did your entire goat area get ravaged by a colony of gophers? The answer would be no. This was due in part to 2 pigs coming in here for 3 days. Now, we brought them in here because our goats had babies, if you guys have seen some of our previous videos, and we wanted to keep the moms as stress-free as possible when it comes to that. So we put the pigs in the boy area thinking, what could be the problem? Well, it turns out the problems are plentiful with that. This area, as you can see behind me, we've got 3 massive pine trees. And over the years, the pine trees have simply just laid down a really deep bed of mulch in here, which has basically been its kind of natural deep litter method. And so everything in here is just kind of like a 4-inch layer of mulch, and the pigs have taken that opportunity to root as deep as possible throughout the entire thing in the matter of 3 days. And on the other side of that, Waffles and Franklin, we haven't been giving them grain for the last couple of weeks because just due to the research we've done, they say that you shouldn't give grain to male goats. And so we want to try to keep it as safe as possible. So we've been withholding grain from them, which has made them already a bit testy because they've been getting grain for months and months. But we also need to feed the pigs. And so this has become a little bit of a conflict when it comes to the goats and the pigs. And so all that to say, we need to move the pigs out of here as soon as possible. And so in today's video, we're going to show you what our plans are. In our backyard homestead, we have a little bit more than a half an acre for our 2 Kune pigs. So if you guys didn't know, Clover just had a baby, and it's our first doeling. When Bluebell had her babies, they ended up being 2 bucklings, and we really don't need any more intact bucks, but we were super excited to have our first doeling. As you can see, she's right there. She's happy, healthy, doing great. Clover's a great mom. So we haven't named her yet, so if you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. But she's super sweet. We're trying to get her familiar with us and friendly. You know, when it comes to Pancake and Biscuit, the 2 that were born a couple weeks ago, they're starting to get a lot friendlier. Pancake is totally fine to be scratched and pet and all of those things, and really the method we've used is kind of just this. You know, you sort of kidnap them and forcefully cuddle them for a while, and then they get a little bit more familiar with you. And so she's doing great though, and Clover's been a really great mom and is not nearly as happy with us when we're holding her babies as Bluebell is. I think Bluebell with her twin boys is kind of just happy to have a break, but Clover's not quite as excited when we hold her. But when it comes to this though, when Bluebell had the 2 boys, we separated the pigs for about a week just to give her a little bit of a break and just to keep Bluebell from being stressed. And so we really did the same thing when we had this baby. And so we put them in there for a couple of days. And, you know, we weren't super worried about having them in here with the babies at the beginning because they were babies too. The pigs really weren't that big and they weren't that heavy. When we initially got the pigs, our plan all along was to put them in the woods behind our chicken area, but they were just so small. They were like probably 10 pounds a piece, maybe 15 pounds. They were really little. And so we just didn't feel comfortable putting them out there by themselves. And they seemed to be doing really well back here with everyone else. And I think in theory they would, but with the babies around and with them getting a lot bigger and the fact that they managed to tear up that goat area in a matter of 3 days, we think it's about time to get them their own dedicated space out in the woods. And what's great about that is, you know, at first we were thinking, are we gonna have to clear all this space? Are we gonna have to do a bunch of prep work? And what we're seeing here is that we're not gonna really have to do anything at all. We're just gonna put the perimeter in with fencing and then let the pigs kind of do their things back there, which is gonna be really nice because it's gonna clear out some extra space for us. And we're gonna have a gate in between in case we wanna let them in with the goats and the chickens and everyone every so often. But for the most part, I'm gonna show you guys what our plans are back there in the woods. We're gonna have to tear down a little bit of this chain link to build a gate, but I think they're gonna have plenty of space back there and they're gonna be happy as little forest pigs. Hello, you. You can go back to your mother. Can we milk you? Would you be comfortable with that? There you go. So when we moved onto the property, this chain link fence was already here. And back in this chicken area, it looks like a tree probably fell down at some point. Like, it just doesn't look great. So we're kind of excited to be able to take some of it out to make a gate. But we have plenty of woods to work with back here. And it's not like incredibly dense. There's just a little bit of vegetation that we're working with. So the overall goal is to probably cut a gate right around here. Excuse me, honeysuckle. and then use hot wire fencing to sort of section off the back. And so we're probably going to start over in this area because, like I said, it's not super dense. There's not a ton of trees. There's just a little bit of vegetation and some thorns back here that I think the pigs will be able to clear out in pretty much no time. So we're going to sort of section it off. We have two small kune pigs. They don't need a ridiculous amount of space. And so I think as we section it off, we will be able to clear out a good bit of this forest back here. And I think it'll be great. So when we moved onto the property, we originally thought we wouldn't be able to have pigs because we just didn't have the space. Like, even when you look back in this area, it's really not conducive to have pigs in here. One, due to the amount of animals that we have, and two, because they till up the ground like crazy. So this really was just a temporary thing, because originally, when we were looking back in this forest, we thought it was unusable. But then I came across a Justin Rhodes video where he talked about his pigs clearing land for him, and he even called them forest pigs. And I immediately got excited because I knew we had some forest, one, that needed clearing, and two, we realized it could now be used for animals. And so we were just simply using this area back in the chicken area as temporary housing for them to get a little bit bigger, because we felt like they were too young to be in their own dedicated space back here. And so now that they're getting bigger, we're going to use them to clear out a lot of this so that you can actually walk through it and it can be functional, good animal space for our homestead. And so as you can see back here, a lot of the previous owners just dumped chairs and any spare wood or, you know, tree clippings that fell, they just kind of tossed back here. But what's nice is the pigs are just going to come in and till a lot of this up and clear a lot of the vegetation, which will make it easier for me to get back here and kind of throw it all away. Now we're going to clear the trash and everything, but when it comes to a lot of the stuff that's just sitting here, it's going to be a lot easier to clear when there's not a lot of thorns and vegetation. So as they tamp all that down, it'll make it pretty simple for us to just get it out of here. So I'm kind of sitting on the back side of where the pig area is going to be. As you can see, the chicken coops right there, the chicken area and everything. So it's a decent bit of space, but as you can see, it's kind of hard to maneuver through and trek through. And so it'll be really nice to get the pigs back here to make it easier to walk through. But we're going to hot wire train them, we think. We're still trying to figure out our perimeter options here. We know that there's hog panel and then there's also hot wiring, and so we're kind of weighing the pros and cons of both and doing our research on that. Now I really think having them all together would work if we had a little bit more space, but we really just want to give them their own dedicated area to truly be able to pig out, because currently they're in with the male goats, and you know, goats don't seem to love mud too much, and pigs seem to like to create a lot of it. And so it'll be nice to just kind of have them back in this area to make it as muddy and sloppy as they want, and not have to be throwing extra straw down to make sure that the goats are fine, and tamp down the ground to make sure that it's not just completely tilled up and rooted at all times. And so it's going to be really nice to finally be able to have some dedicated space back here and to clear all of this mess out. So I think the boys and the pigs are both happy to be moving out here soon, but really this was us just having to change course a little bit due to the babies arriving. We had always originally planned to have them in the forest and to start them in the chicken and goat area, but as the babies were born, you know, you just got to change course sometimes and be flexible. And so now we have a nice tilled up boy area here, and Waffles, I think, is ready for Blossom and Fern to be in their own area. But they're fantastic pigs. We're super excited to have them, and now we have plenty of straw to lay down here. But anyway, it's just another week on the homestead. Make sure you're subscribing. We are going to post a video every week this whole year. Make sure you head to beinourhomestead.com. Use code FOILHAT10 for 10% off all of your Foil Hat Gang merch, and make sure you're following us for more homesteading tips. So we managed to capture our girl Clover here. She's the one that just gave birth on Tuesday. She had a single baby, and you know, Bluebell had twins, and with them only having 2 teats, twins is kind of perfect. But when you have a single, it seems like our young lady over here is preferring one side, and so Clover looked super engorged on this right side over here, and so we're just relieving some pressure for her. When we first got her back here, she seemed irritated just to even be touched at all, and now she seems way more comfortable. And so we're not going to take any of this milk, but we're just going to capture some of it for the pigs, so that they can have some. So this is probably going to have to be a frequent thing with us to milk her down on one side just to prevent mastitis, because all the research we did said that a lot of does that have single kids end up getting mastitis because they just prefer one side, and little lady over here is only going after the left. And so she already seems way less swollen and engorged than when we got her in here. And so once we get our stanchion built, it'll make it way easier. But for now, we just lured her in here.